G'day and welcome to another WTF with Dr. Chris Willems, Angela Heise and myself, Alan Stevens. Today we want to talk about busyness, being busy, and being busy just for the sake of being busy. Because I know a lot of people are frantically doing things all the time. We see it online when we're in events, people not really paying attention to the screen, but also doing things on the side, rushing around and doing multiple things together and really not getting things done properly. So, Dr. Chris, you like to start us on this one?
Yeah, it's a perception thing, really, isn't it? It's feeling the need to demonstrate that I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. When in fact the opposite should be the case, where you can actually stop and step back from what we're doing, and we all do it. We're all really busy, and we are busy all the time, but having to be told, or our bodies tell us to stop because something goes wrong, something anatomical goes wrong or whatever, and you go, oh, okay, I better just step back for a minute and reassess, or just have a think, or just have a break, because of the constantness of what we do. It's just unrelenting, and it's not healthy at all.
Yeah, because Angela was talking before to us about when she likes going walking in nature, etc., and being able to hear the other things that are going on, not just having earbuds and keeping something else to keep her busy, but enjoying the walk. So being totally immersed in that walk.
Yeah.
And I think that helps us to disconnect from the other things, because if we're busy 24/7, so to speak, we're just wearing ourselves out. And one of the things that we keep getting told all the time is that we need to take time out for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a key area that you talk about all the time, Angela, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I keep joking that Newton would have never discovered gravity and all these physical laws if he hadn't sat under a tree and rested and an apple fell on his head, But I just remembered, I can't remember exactly when it was, but I think it was in the early 90s when there was a study, and I've been trying to find it. I know I read it. I know, because it just made such an impact on me. That they did a study that said that what we were doing in the early 90s, 100 years before, what we were doing in a month, they would be doing in a year. So we had, like 12 times as productive. We'd become 12 times, oh God, I'm rumbling, 12 times as productive as in 100 years. And, we were just getting so many more things done. Now, this was at a time when we had the huge phone bricks. There was no internet. We had fax. There was no email, nothing. Now we've got all of these tools. We've got smart watches. We've got this. We're just full of equipment that connects us 24/7. And if we don't answer an email within 2 minutes, we get a follow-up saying, did you get my email?
Yeah.
So my sense is that 1990 we did in a month. I think we're down to 2 days, what people 150 years now ago, or however long, did in a year. It's just insane. Absolutely insane.
In fact, I saw a graph just the other day. Someone was doing a presentation, and they demonstrated that 100 years ago, 100 years worth of information took 100 years, and we're getting the same amount of information now in 3 months. That amount of change in 3 months.
Shorter than that, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's just bizarre.
Now with AI, it's probably, the generative AI, which just makes patterns and creates all of that. I mean, I'm seriously thinking it's insane. Because you can't be busy all the time. You can't be learning all the time. You got to take time out. The brain needs to defrag, if I may use a computer term.
Yes. Some people might say, well, I'm not being that busy myself. But what they don't realize is with billboards, TV ads, all this other stuff, you're still being bombarded all the time. And you might say, right, well, I've looked at my diary. I haven't got a lot on. But what did you do in that period of time? Did you take some time out for yourself? Did you reconnect? Did you go walking out in nature, etc.? Did you smell the roses? And in a lot of cases, people go, no. And I go, well, but then they're exhausted at the end of the day because of all this stuff that's coming through and bombarding them. So whether we like it or not, to be healthy and look after ourselves, we've got to take that time out.
We do, and I love the analogy that you just came up with, Angela, defragging, because we don't really use that term anymore for computers, but we certainly need to do it for ourselves. Absolutely, and things like going for a walk on the beach or through a forest or whatever. It's so important, and we just don't allow ourselves the time to do it. We just don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to do another email. I've got to do this. Got to do that.
Yeah.
I've got another networking meeting to go to. Another Zoom. So just stopping is so important. Because it gives you a perspective. It's like the apple, and Newton's laws of gravity. Just stopping and allowing ourselves to defrag is. I'm going to use that more and more now that you've mentioned it. I'd completely forgotten about the term, but yes, absolutely, it's what. And you also mentioned, back in the 90s, things like mobile phones have only been around since the early 90s, and email and stuff like that. And we don't realize young people must just assume the internet's always been there, but it's only been there for 30, 40 years, whatever. And we've actually been pretty clever in keeping up with it, but now I think it's just impossible to keep up with to the extent that people think we need to. So unwinding ourselves is really important.
Absolutely.
It's like with all my devices, I've got them set up so that they're on do not disturb from early in the evening right through to early in the morning when I first start work. So it doesn't even work until I've been up for about an hour or so, gone through my emails and other stuff, and then my phone can ring and everything goes. The only people who can get through to me outside of those hours are the ones I've got in my favorites, family, people that are really close friends, etc., like you two guys. So you can call me, well, don't do it, but 24/7. But I know if you're going to call me, it's not going to be, we're going to be working away. We're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And so I know that having a chat with you, I can disconnect. But with everybody else, I look at it and go, right, there's certain times of the day that I have to make sure that I'm looking after me, taking some time out, whether that's just vegetating, meditating, whatever it might be. But you've got to have time for yourself. Busyness will kill you.
Here's an irony for you, Alan. Yeah, the do not disturb. You just reminded me that you put do not disturb. I don't have the time to work out how to turn on do not disturb. It's a delicious and sick irony in that, I have to say.
Now, is that because it's a technical knowledge of it, or that you're just making yourself too busy? So if it is because you're making yourself too busy, make sure you listen to this video later on.
Yes. I don't have time.
The other thing that I find really interesting is we've got all of these machines, devices, equipment that allow us to have more time. I remember my mother and my grandmother used to take a whole day of doing laundry. Like we're talking, it was physical labor. Now I go and I throw in a washing machine, maybe a dryer, then I turn on the dishwasher and it all does itself. And now I can get really busy with really productive stuff. I can go and, and I go, no, actually, because somebody suggested that to me and said, oh, so you've got a cleaner. And I go, yeah. They come every few weeks and they do a basic clean because that means I can maintain whatever is in, but I know that I'm maintaining some sort of standard. Oh, that's great. You can use that for all sorts of other productive things. And I'm like, no, I read a book, because it's not about replacing my productivity with something else. Yes, I probably do things, but it's not the compulsive, now that somebody else is doing this or some machine is doing that for me, now I can create more social media posts, I can whatever it might be. Now I go and I crochet a little bit or I read a book. It took me a while to get to that place, I have to admit.
Absolutely.
Well, I felt guilty, but now I don't.
I'm old enough to remember when the computers were first, starting to come in, and everyone said, "Oh, we're going to have all this leisure time." You go, "Where's all that gone?"
Yes.
I see
completely.
So it's bizarre, but things like crocheting, or cooking, skills that are being lost because we're just screen. So and it's manual stuff. It's doing stuff manually and it's creating stuff manually and with a different part of the brain. So important to do. We're just reading a book, for God's sake. Anyway,
So it's, I think the message is having that balance. Look,
yeah,
again, I don't like that word, but knowing when it's time to be busy and when it's time to take some time out to recuperate, so that when you become busy again, you can be more effective and efficient.
Exactly.
absolutely.
But the trouble is we're just
Recuperation.
being too busy all the time and not being productive or efficient in the process because of it.
Yeah.
Indeed, and you mentioned the word integration before, Alan. Integrating the two words, defrag and what did you say? Sorry, I've forgotten it already. I'm too busy. Not the relaxation. It was recuperation.
Recuperation.
You need to
These things are
defrag
important.
in order to recuperate.
Exactly.
So thanks to both of you with that, and we might let Angela take us out again.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we normally in WTF, we talk about relationships with other people. And I think this one was all about ourselves. It's about respect for ourselves. It's about how we treat ourselves and not using busyness as an excuse to neglect self-care. So let's continue to build bridges of respect also with ourselves, one conversation at a time. And I forgot to thank you again, Dr. Chris Willems and Alan Steve Allen. Thank you so much. My name is Angela Heise, and I'll repeat myself here again because I was so busy thinking about so much of different things. Let's continue to build bridges, one conversation at a time. Please join us next time.